And we didn't coordinate at all. It was so awesome. Right. So I'll open in prayer just really briefly. Father God, I thank you for your spirit, and I thank you for your son, and I thank you that we come together as believers and that we're one mind and one heart and one spirit. And I ask that you would take control of my speech and my mind, and that I would speak your words with accuracy and with conviction. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, so my little mini sermon here is called 2 Words. Because the Holy Spirit gave me 2 words he wants to tie together. So I was reading my Torah portion a few weeks ago, and it's in Exodus chapter 3. I'm going to read it out here just real quick for you, starting in verse 1. Now Moses was tending the flock of his father-in-law Jethro, the priest of Midian. So he led the flock to the farthest end of the wilderness. I'm going to stop right there for a second, because sometimes you have to go to the farthest end of the wilderness to encounter the Lord. And I feel like that's something that's in here, that's hidden in here. There's so many little nuggets hidden in the Word of God. They're so amazing. If you just read them, they're there. Then the angel of Adonai appeared to him in a flame of fire within a bush. So he looked and saw the bush burning with fire, yet it was not consumed. Moses thought, I will go now and see this great sight. Why is the bush not burnt? When Adonai saw that he turned to look, he called to him out of the midst of the bush and said, Moses, Moses. So he answered, Hineni. Now my Bible is a Tree of Life version, and when there are words that don't translate properly into English or accurately into English, they leave them untranslated for you to look up and see what they mean. So I got to thinking, everyone else's Bible, my NIV, my NASB, all that, says, here I am, not Hineni. And so I got to thinking about that when you read it just, in the normal way. It seems almost silly that the Lord would say, Moses, Moses, and then Moses would be like, here I am, God. And then God's like, dude, you know how many bushes I had to burn to find you? You know how hard you are to find? Clearly, Moses is not saying, I'm located right here. So there's 2 ways to say here I am in Hebrew. The first one is poani, and it indicates location. That's not what Moses said. Moses said hineni, which indicates availability. That's our word for the year. Oh man, I love the Holy Spirit so much. I'm sorry, I'm so excited for this, you guys. Okay, so Hineni is a concept that's not terribly popular in Western culture, and not really in our Western church either, because we want to sit back and be comfortable and be consumer Christians. The reason Hineni isn't popular is because it requires a lot of you. When you say Hineni to God, you're saying, I'm here, I'm available, and I am prepared to do whatever you instruct me next, without knowing what he's going to do, without knowing what he's going to say. Abraham said Hineni, and he was asked to sacrifice Isaac. The very next thing was, give me your son. You're going to be asked to sacrifice your Isaac. So know what your Isaac is, and be prepared to lay it down. And if you sacrifice an Isaac, if you lay down an Isaac, understand that you have more. You'll pick up another one. It could be, for me it was my career, laid it down. It could be being on the worship team. It could be ministry. It could be your family. It could be anything that you would place that's so important to you that there's a danger of you placing that ahead of the Most High. And if you have an Isaac in your life, be prepared to lay that down. Because if you answer Hineni, he will ask you to. Moses, when he said Hineni, he got a very interesting assignment. And I can just kind of imagine the conversation that he had with Zipporah, his wife, and his father-in-law Jethro. Because he's out with the sheep, right? So I can imagine being maybe if I was Zipporah, I'm chilling at home because my husband's taken my dad's sheep out to the farthest edge of the wilderness. I don't expect this dude to be back for weeks, right? So I'm just doing my thing. I got my box of dates and my trashy Midianite romance novel, whatever. And I'm eating my dates, and I hear the watchman cry. The sun's going down, and I hear the watchman cry. And he's like, somebody's coming, somebody's approaching. And then next thing you know, there's muttering. Oh, somebody runs to Jethro and says, Moses is back early. It's only been 4 days. And then somebody runs to me and says, Moses is back. It's only been 4 days. And I go, oh my gosh, what are you doing back? You were supposed to be gone for weeks. You were supposed to be out with the sheep. What happened? Did someone get hurt? Did you get attacked? And he comes in and he says, wife, I saw this burning bush. And I told him, Hineni, it's the Most High God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. This is the God of my people. And he told me I got to drop everything. I'm going to Egypt, and I'm going to go tell Pharaoh to let them go. I can just imagine, he goes, what? You what? You didn't even ask me? What? And then father-in-law, right? You're going to leave. You're going to leave. You're going to take my wife with you, or not, sorry, my daughter with you, and you're going to leave and do this dangerous thing? Are you out of your mind? If you answer Hineni, that's the response you're going to get. You're going to get, are you crazy?
Amen.
Are you crazy for quitting your job, Tiffany? You have a family to support. You're crazy. Ministry doesn't pay. How are you going to pay the bills? You're putting your family to the side for God. That couldn't possibly be what God told you. And you better be confident in yourself, because I'm sure when Noah said Hineni, he got the same response too. You are nuts. You didn't hear from God. You're crazy. I know who I heard from, and you have to be confident in know who you heard from if you're going to say Hineni. The Levites in Exodus 32. I'm going to read that real quick, just because I feel like there's power in it. This is in verse 25. When Moses saw that the people were unrestrained, this is after the golden calf, unrestrained because Aaron had let them run wild, to become a joke among their enemies, Moses stood at the gate of the camp and said, whoever is on Adonai's side, let him come to me. Then all the sons of Levi gathered themselves together to him. He said to them, this is what Adonai, the God of Israel, says. Every man put on his sword and go to and fro from gate to gate throughout the camp and slay his brother, his friend, and his neighbor. So the sons of Levi did as Moses said, and that day from among the people there fell about 3,000 men. Then Moses said, consecrate your hands today to Adonai, so he may give you a blessing today, for every man has been against his son and his brother. That day, everyone in the tribe of Levi said Hineni to God's purpose, and it changed the destiny of their family for them forever. It made them Kodesh, which is my second word. Kodesh is typically translated as holy, but what it actually means is the property of being special or set apart. And then the book, our Bible often will translate the word kedoshim. Sorry, I'm stuttering here. Kedoshim as saints. That refers to us. We are the kedoshim. A very quick lesson in Hebrew. There's a root word, like for everything that you hear. So there's no vowels. So anytime that you have a word like Kodesh or Kedoshim, they have the same consonants. There are no vowels in Hebrew. So because they have the same consonants, they're the same word. They're the same root. They mean approximately the same thing. They're related very closely. So Kodesh means holy or set apart. Kedoshim, us, holy ones, set apart ones. That's us. Are we set apart? Like, are we doing that? In Francis Chan's book, on page 31, he says, we live in a world where people carelessly rush into things. If we don't rush, we'll be passed up and miss out. So we frantically follow the pattern of the world and ignore the fact that God calls us to act differently, to be set apart. We long to be set apart. In Mike Bickle's book that we read a couple of times ago, he talks about how we have these longings in us because we're created for this. We were created and designed to be set apart, and we long to be different. And we fill it with counterfeit things like edgy hair, body modifications, underground music, something that makes me different from everybody else. And you see Facebook is full of memes like that, where it's like, everybody else, me, you know? It's because there's a longing in us to be different, but we're using something counterfeit to fill what the Lord called us to be, set apart to Him, holy. Francis Chan's concerns are answered, I think, in these two words. Hineni, our availability to God, and Kodesh, our set apartness to Him. And if we can pursue those two things, I think we can take back the church and make it the way God intended it to be. So I want to thank you guys for your time. And I'll close in prayer. Father, I thank you for my brothers and sisters here who are all on the same journey together. And I thank you for your Holy Spirit and inspiration and your word. And I ask you to bless everybody.